Hello everyone, and welcome to a video that's going to help clarify some things about Table 2, which then affected some of your Table 3s. I'll also probably go through Table 1 as well, just so that we all feel comfortable. Remember that these are drafts, so if we didn't feel comfortable, if we made some mistakes that you notice after this, it's okay. These are drafts that you can then just make adjustments to, so that they're part of your final report. So let's just start with Table 1 then. So use STR comp set report for these ones. So I've already got this open. I'll bring this over, USTR comp set. And then you just really need to bring over 78.5%. And really this is 2014 here. I'm just bringing over these numbers. 77.4, 73.3, 77.3, 75. Now, some teams copied and pasted this like this. I just went copy and paste. The problem here is that the formatting looks completely off. Remember, this is a professional report, so we're going to keep it like this. For your average rate, let's just make sure I'm doing the right one. Yeah, there you go. So this is 2014. 38.90, 141.16, 147.65, 155.17. So a way that you can analyze these, let's talk about that. So we could take a look and mention to the reader that, hey, these have been going up considerably over time. So how could we do that? Well, we could go, okay, pardon me, 2015 rate minus 2014 rate divided by the 2014 rate. That's the relative change, right? If I turn this into a percentage and give it a couple decimals, we could take a look that over time, look at that. So we experienced a 1.63%, 4.65. So a quick analysis would be that these rates have been increasing at a pretty good rate, anywhere between 1.6 to 5%, with the exception of a drop from 2017 to 2018. That could just be explained by the hangover. So we call it the hangover when there was a big event in one year, which you just can't make as much money or you can't have as high an occupancy because this is just a really big event. And that was the 150th anniversary. So it's okay that this went down. This number is still higher than 2016. Okay, but you would want to explain that and identify it to the reader. But yeah, things have been progressing well. The only reason why 2018 is lower is because, well, it doesn't have all the activities that 2017 did. So that would be a good start. As far as our occupancy, the fact that it's all in the 70s is a very positive thing. Again, with it kind of fluctuates, which we'll be able to speak more to in Table 2, but that's just a good explanation. Just occupancy seems to be around the mid to high 70s mostly in this area from 2014 to 2018. There you go, you've analyzed it. Okay, so you can talk about the high points. So 2014, well, why was it so high? We'll find that out in a bit, but if you take a look, 2014 for supply, look at how many hotel room nights were available in 2014. Only 199,000. Now there's 343,000. So it's a lot easier to fill that many rooms than almost double, right? So that's why. These are the connections you want to try and make. As far as our forecasted, you would have wanted to use either overnight expenditures or travel price index as a percentage increase on your 2018 number. Okay. One thing that was seen, so let's say, and here we'll go take a look. Download, and we said that we could use either one of these. So if we take a look at Ottawa, domestic, let's go down to find our table. There it is. So tourism indicators. We said that we'd use either overnight expenditures or the travel price index. Either one would have been accepted. So let's say we use the travel price index. So 3.18% is the increase that's forecasted from 2018 to 2019. 3.18. So we could go back and go equals this times 1.03, oh, pardon me, 1.038. And that's the 3.8% increase. And let's just double check that Mark has the correct information. 3.18. That's why you always double check. There you go. Okay. So forecast at $154.87 for the average roommate. Just explain why, how you got to that number. Now, one big thing that we should see at this point is when we go to table 4, this competitive average rate, okay, it should be based on 2019 plus an increase for 2020. So 2019 is $154.87. That's not what it should be here, okay? Because we should see an increase there, and we can probably use the same thing. So from 2019 to 2020, the travel price index, the increase is 2.72%. So we could probably go $154.87 equals times 1.0272. Okay, 272. And now we've got a competitive market average rate that we believe it's going to be for 2020. And then we can do the same thing. So it's saying 2.54% equals this times 1.0254. Okay, probably add a couple decimals. And then what does it say for the next year? 2021 to 2022, 2.54 again. So we should now be able to identify a trend times 0.0254. Well, it would be probably a safe bet to say that from now on, each year we're forecasting a 2.54% increase, because that's what it looks like they're doing. Okay, so we could just click and drag, and there you go. Those would be the comp set forecasted rates. Now at this point, you should be able to look at the comp set rates and kind of base your decision on what the proposed property average rate should be based on that, but also your brand itself. So remember that this average includes your economy hotels, but also your higher end hotels out of the hotels. So you'd be looking at Days Inn, which probably does not charge fairly that much, or their average rate shouldn't be this high, or the Ramada Inn, which might be lower. So maybe you'll say we're going to be right at the middle of this based on the brand of hotel we have, or based on the type of hotel. Maybe you'll be a bit below the average to begin with, but then you'll start to trend upward and be right at the average by 2024, because you think it'll take a while to get that type of rate. There's a number of things you could say, but this should be kind of what you use as your baseline, as what you compare yourself to. To say that you're going to have a $179 average rate, that means you're going to be $20 above the average for the area. That's a bit too much. You can't say that, okay, unless you've got a really good reason behind it. But let's say you said, okay, well, for the first year, and we shouldn't see exactly these numbers, folks, for your property average rates. These are just examples. But we believe we're going to be a bit below the average rate for the area, what's forecasted. So no problem. And by we, you mean my hotel. The rate penetration, or the market penetration, is simply going to be the proposed rate for the property divided by the competitive rate. And that should give you a percent. So you believe that you'll be at about 97.4% of the average. Okay? And that's a pretty good place. Anything over 100% means that you're above the average for the competition. Anything below means that you're below average the competition. Well, the average for the competition. So just review this table for those of you that don't have approved rates, because you should first figure out your average rate for all of these, either using in this example, I use the travel price index. Some people use overnight expenditures, and that's fine too. So you'll see some higher numbers as far as your comp set, but that's how it needs to work. So we shouldn't see a number here like 154.87 and then see 150 here. That doesn't make sense, because rates would start going down, and you'd have to really give us a good reason why rates would go down for the entire area by that much money. Okay, so that's number one. Table number 2. So let's go through it together. For 2014 to 2018, you supply information from STR comp set demand. Let's do that. So there's the STR supply. So 49 563, 235. Perfect, so there you go for that. And then we can right away, or what we'll do is we'll bring in the demand first. Demand is the next one down, so I'm simply just copying over these numbers right here. Small. Perfect. And now we can calculate these relative changes. We should feel comfortable with this. So 2015 minus 2014 divided by 2014, the previous year. And we can go down. Okay. And then if you use control base, you would maybe remember this from that. There you go. Everything's done for us. Okay. So these are the numbers that you should have for sure. Now your occupancy, if we go down, there you go. We should have 78.5, 74.4, 73.3, so 7.3 and 75. Perfect. Now, this is where we saw some teams follow exactly the example laid out in class, and that's okay. It may have caused some confusion. Okay? Where what some teams did is they took this amount, and then they added in and if we take a look, there you go. So, this is the supply forecast table that I ask you to, and here, let's go to this. Use forecast developed from supply forecast table in supply draft. So what some teams did, which would seem logical, they just added the 95. So they just simply went, okay, 2018 plus 95 more rooms times 365. That's what we did in the example in class, right? So if we press enter, there you go. So 378,007 rooms is what's forecasted to be in 2019. Room nights available. The only problem with that, let's do some math. So 378,007 rooms. If we divide that by 365 days in the year, look at the amount of rooms that means. We've got 1,225. So it doesn't quite work out. So really we need to use this running total number is what we should have in these. So we should go 1,225 times 365. Okay. For 2020, let's look at 2020. What's the running total? 1,405 equals 1,405 times 365. For 2021, 1,605 times 365. Okay, and then it stabilizes. So 585, 825, 585, 825, 585, 825. Okay, so that's how we would have wanted to get to this portion. So this is the true representation. I believe some teams had 516, 707 or something like that for 2021 to 2024. Again, if we go through this process of dividing this by 365 days, we've only got 1,415 rooms, and really it's forecasted to be 1,605. Okay, so we needed to use the running totals, and if there was some confusion, we apologize, but that's really what you needed to use, because if you would have done the backwards math, you would have realized that the 516, 707 doesn't quite make sense. Okay, so that's how we would have figured that out. Now, if you just use the fill function, you should see this. Okay, and that's just what we've been using. Now, forecast the percentage change in annual room nights occupied first. Calculate the annual room nights occupied using that percentage change. Hint, the CBC report mentioned in class will help with this. Think overnight visits percentage change. So if we go back, overnight visits. So they're slated to change by 2.4, 2.3, 3, and 2.4. So I'll just bring this over to the side. So it's suggesting the CBC report, and it's just overnight visits. These are percentage changes. Are going to change by 2.4, 2.3, 3, and 2.4. 3 and 2.4. Okay. Now, these last two we don't have yet, okay, but you could probably just say, well, it's usually around 2.3 or 2.4. So, it would make sense 2.4, 2.4. Because there's no changes in any supply. Now, what was mentioned in class was that we really wanted you to take a look at the historical trend that you would see. if we only look at these changes, these percentage changes here, okay, it's kind of hard to understand what's going on because it goes from 16.2% increase in demand to 17.6, down to 5.5, back up to 14.1. So this is kind of a tough trend to analyze. So we really need to look at both of these. Anytime there was an increase in supply, okay, so this would be an increase in room nights available, look at what happens to the increase in demand. It goes up. Does it go up at the same rate? No, and it should never be above it, okay? Because that would mean that you would have more demand increase than supply increase. That'd be very hard for an area to do, okay? But let's take a look. So equals supply minus demand. So in that year, there was a 1.6% difference between the two. If we keep on filling this out, okay, you'll notice that every time there was a big supply change in percentage, okay, demand was very close as well. Okay? It was very close where it was within anywhere from 1.6 to 6.6% of the supply change. So back to looking at historical trends and using them now. So there's a 30.2% increase forecasted for supply here. Okay? So if we leave this at 2.4, what's going to happen? Well, we're going to say, okay, and sorry, we don't need that. I'll make this bigger. If we simply go 257,489 room nights occupied times the 1.024, and that's to give that increase, and then we divide this by that. 59%, pretty low, right? But there's just one thing, 2.4%. Have we seen this anywhere here? Not really. All we've seen is big increases that match the big increases in supply. So why would that be? That could be because the new rooms available, the new hotels that are being built, are creating basically demand, but they're also, what they're doing is they're addressing a gap. Maybe there's some points within the year where all these hotels in the comp set are full, they're at 100%, and people have to stay outside of the area. Well, by having a new hotel, you're going to bring more demand to that area because you'll actually have more rooms available now. So that could be a reason. Another reason could be something like, if I believe this one is the Hard Rock Casino, you're going to see more demand in the area just because of the casino. Okay, so overall, we should see this trend, okay, where demand is close to supply change as far as a percentage change year by year. So 1.6.65. So we could say that demand percentage change is going to be around 5% less than supply change. So I'm just using a random number here. So we could say 25.2%. Okay, so if I change this to 25.2, look what happens there. Okay. And then we say again, well, 14.7. So this we believe will be 9.7, and this will be 9.2%. And again, all I'm doing here, folks, is I'm looking at historical trends. And in 2015, there was a 17.8% increase in supply and a 16.2% increase in demand. So there was increased demand because of more rooms, but not as much of an increase ever. Okay. The only exception would be when hotels are not built. You'll see demand outpace supply. Okay, but that makes sense. So then if we do this, so we go equals U times 1 plus, and that's just another way of saying 2019 times 1.097. Okay, and we press enter. There you go. And then if we just keep on going now, and then we do the same with our occupancy. Okay. Look how some of our occupancies, so as we saw some in the 50s, we saw some in the 90s, those didn't make as much sense. Now 72.1, 69, 65.9, these are starting to make a bit more sense as to what you might see in an area. Okay? And all we've done is we've taken a look at our historical information where every time there was an increase in rooms available, there's also been an increase in rooms nights occupied. Always. Take a look, take a look. So if there has been an increase, if there's these big increases, we should probably forecast that there's going to be a big increase as well, and not only stick with the 2.4%. And then anytime there's a 0, that's when we can just stick back to our, this report right here, okay, where we went down and we looked at the table. So that's what you wanted to do. Now, if we have 72.1, 69%, this is where we should start bringing over that 69% for 2020. Then we take a look. Okay, 65.9, we can use cell referencing, equals 65.9 equals 67.5 equals, sorry if this is repetitive, equals, there you go. Now, this is the average for the area. Again, we need to feel comfortable with that. I'm just going to say I've got a 100-room hotel. Okay? So, if I have a 100-room hotel, okay, I need to put together a proposed occupancy percentage for my hotel. This is the average for all hotels. So, you need to start coming up with a proposed occupancy. And some teams did a really good job. It's just you had the wrong competitive market occupancy. Okay? So now that you have this and you've hopefully looked at table 2 and understand where we could make some changes, if this is the average for the area, you should either be right around this, just a bit below, or just a bit above. Okay? You just have to give reason why you'll be either at the average, below the average, or above the average. Your market penetration should not be too far off. It should be anywhere from 90 to 110%. Okay, so let's say I forecast that in the first year we're new, so 65%. So to get my occupied room nights, I'd go, okay, well, my 100 room nights times 365 to get room nights available times the forecasted occupancy for that year. So 23,725 rooms, and to get my market penetration, it's my proposed property occupancy divided by the market occupancy. So 94, let's give it a couple decimals, 94.2%. We believe, Team 5, Team 6 Consulting, whatever, believes that the hotel will start off with a lower than average occupancy since it's a new hotel. Or we believe that the hotel will have a higher than average occupancy percentage compared to the competitive set average because it'll be new and it's a brand new hotel. This is up to you to come up with these reasons, okay? And then you need to come up with other ones. So let's say, look at how it dips in 2021 because there's going to be more rooms added. So you could probably expect that it would dip for the proposed hotel as well. So maybe all of a sudden you're just a bit below average, okay? And you could probably explain that, you know what, first year, very popular. Second year, we start to be closer to the average. There's a bit of a hangover. Then it starts to get a bit more, around the average. And then it starts to be at 70 and we start to really perform. So we got to be a bit above. And you take a look at these market penetrations and they're all between 90 and 110. Okay? If you're really at 110%, that would mean you're very high, much higher above occupancy or rate above the average. There has to be a really good reason why you believe the proposed hotel would have that. Okay? So that's a little explanation as to what you would want to change for Table 2 and Table 1, which will then affect Table 3 and Table 4. Okay, so if any teams don't have approved occupancies or average daily rates, you need to go back to these and make these changes. Only make the changes in Excel for now so that we can start to look at making sure we have approved proposed rates and approved proposed occupancy, because you need that for the income statement portion of Draft 5. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out to your advisor.